Hey everyone, it's me, Jelena and my partner in crime, Paul Moderman, with Boring Enterprise Nerds. Please say hi, Paul.
Hi, everybody.
So today we gathered just like we do every 2 weeks to discuss about next issue of Boring Enterprise Nerdletter. So I will go first since I already have my stuff ready to share. And as usual, screen sharing in Zoom is very interesting. All right, yeah, I'm here finally. All right, so my three stories for the upcoming issue are first one, Paul, is in this issue it's interesting. My stories will be kind of more practical than usual. Sometimes I tend to kind of go about general subjects, development, just kind of deep thoughts about development.
Yeah.
So it will be maybe less deep thought and more hands-on, or at least more specific. So this is a post that triggered a little chain of kind of other thoughts for me.
Sure.
It's from Michal, who is a former SAP mentor and also very kind of esteemed expert in integration field in SAP, and he shared this article link and his question about EDI. And Paul, I think you probably know what EDI is. EDI is like electronic data exchange, interchange or whatever. And he's talking about like EDI versus API. And there is an article, I'm not going to open it. Article is interesting, but it is written by a company that offers EDI solution. So obviously slightly biased.
God, I wonder what their perspective is. Yeah.
Exactly. Like, no, EDI is not that.
Talk about a bold move, Cotton, right? To say, EDI, not the future.
Yeah.
Buy our solution now, right? Yeah.
Yeah. So, EDI is definitely not that, but I have my own perspective of this. And specifically in this story, I'm kind of wondering why EDI versus API is even a question, because to me, they are totally different things. And it's not even, if I was talking about, let's say, apple versus oranges, it's more like HTTP versus banana or something like that.
It's a very,
It's just strange to me that
they're at a little bit different levels, right? Of the whole stack of communication.
So right? So Paul knows immediately what I'm talking about, but
it's a head scratcher.
I guess some managers don't. So I think it would be interesting educational piece for some folks, like, well, what is what really? I expect Michal will get tons of LinkedIn connection requests from it.
Yeah.
So my second subject.
So we'll pimp that guy's LinkedIn page too, huh?
Yeah. My second subject is slightly kind of out of the left field.
Oh, I saw this one.
It was in I think on Hacker News or something.
Yeah, that's right. I saw it.
Accounting for developers. I think it's a great article, and what a coincidence! I had to do something similar in a project that I'm working on in my primary job at Mindset, where we had some developers who were beginners, and they did not really know a lot about SAP, like financial module or sales module. But also I felt there was just lack of understanding, like accounting basics, like accounting 101. And I also found some really great YouTube videos that I want to share, which are very short. So this will also go into the same story. They're super short. They're done by some very nice lady who explains it very well. Honestly, I happened to take accounting in as part of my degree at the university. But to be honest, if I just watched those videos and probably read this article, I think I could have saved at least like a few months of my life and not doing like deep diving into accounting. And especially in SAP world, it's extremely important to at least understand the basics, how it works, because you will run into this all the time.
This is oh, sorry, you have more. Sorry.
No,
I have thoughts on this too. Sorry.
Oh, go ahead. While we're
because the interesting counterpart to this would be development for accountants, right? Wouldn't that be interesting? And the reason I say that is in my first like true developer job, I worked with a woman who she's brilliant in so many ways, and her educational experience was like I think a bachelor's in something businessy and then an MBA. She had very very good credentials business wise, and that included high accounting acumen. But her job was she was the lead analyst for a financial reporting portal that the company I was working with had. And it was incredible because it was my first development job. So I didn't know anything from anything. I was the wettest behind the ears, rookiest, whatever you want to call it, guy on the whole planet at that point, right? And what I came to learn in the course of about 4 or 5 months was that she sometimes had a hard time saying the right technical word for what she wanted in terms of development. But her accounting knowledge and her vision for what the portal could be from an accounting perspective made that thing a standalone, standout thing inside that company. Because her vision for the accounting and her, like, even if she didn't have the right words all the time, her putting development knowledge into her bucket with that made the best thing out of that thing. It was a good thing. And when that company went to SAP, that thing that she made, or she helped sort of visionize and put together, was one of the things that company kept and didn't transfer into SAP process-wise, because that thing was so good.
Wow.
So it was just, so this reminded me of this is saying, hey, developers, here's how accounting works. You should know this when you build accounting stuff. And the same is true otherwise. And it really is like it doesn't matter if you can write an OS from scratch. Like, it has to do something productive for people somewhere.
Yeah.
And this is where the rubber meets the road, you know?
Yeah.
Anyway,
and it's
long. Sorry about that, but
no, that's okay. It's funny because I think accountants and like financial people, like analysts, etc., they actually have a lot in common with developers.
Yeah.
And at one of the company I worked at, we had an interesting team exercise. It was for a large group of people, not just IT, and they had like trying to separate people in groups based on their some kind of, I don't know, personality type.
Oh, sure.
Something like that, based on some, I think we answered some questions before, or there were some games involved. And almost every developer happened to be in the same corner as accountants. So it was like salespeople there, you know, some like HR people over there, and accounting and IT developers specifically, like other IT folks, they were all over the place, but developers and accountants, like the same corner.
That little corner right there, yeah.
Yeah. Like, so, yeah, so I think we like friendship forever with accountants. Right? So that should be like series of articles, probably.
Yeah.
And we should start like newsletter for accountants too. That should
we should like,
yeah.
We should say, hey, Lucas, we're writing part 2 of your thing. Yeah.
Yeah. Awesome. All right, cool. So my third one, it's a little bit vague right now. So the way it started, I suddenly remembered that there were SAP community calls, and there was a website on SAP community, page on SAP community website, more correctly, where all those calls were listed, and it would have links to recordings of the previous calls and the upcoming ones. So I haven't heard about it for a while. I was kind of wondering what happened to them. It looks like SAP changed slightly how you need to sign up for them. So it used to be on that page, but now you actually have to go on this SAP community YouTube channel, and that's where you see them, and you can sign up there. There is, see, it says like notify me. So if I do that, I can add it to the calendar, get notified. This is upcoming event that's going to be pretty soon, in a couple of weeks. I remember you wrote about SAP AI. kind of solution, whether it even exists. So it's funny that it's also talking about AI, but I'm really actually curious about the subject. So I think I might sign up and at least maybe view the recording if I don't make it in time. And coincidentally or not, there is also a very short video posted here. It's in 2-minute series about artificial intelligence, like in SAP. And I think this particular one talks about document information extraction service, which is a pretty interesting service. I had some information about it from our internal sessions that we did at Mindset with other developers. And I thought it was just very kind of curious and interesting thing. So I'm kind of vaguely talking about, again, AI in SAP space, and I will add some more materials to this story. So this will be kind of informational.
Good.
Yeah. So
I totally dig that.
Yeah. That's
I mean, you could just force feed me. You could just spoon feed me AI all day, and I'd read I'd buy whatever you're selling. So yeah. That's.
By the way, I just got accepted into DALL-E, so.
Hey, so now like,
nice.
That's good.
Sweet. We're gonna be DALL-E buddies.
Did I show you the?
Yeah.
That was I showed the little boat arc things. I mean,
you did. Awesome.
Yeah. Okay.
Oh, cool.
The reason I asked that is that I feel like every time I get on a Zoom call with somebody who is also interested in like slightly techie, I wind up like jabbering about DALL-E and AI in some way, and so I forget who I've even like bugged and talked their ear off about that stuff. So sorry about that, but yeah, so we talked about that. Okay. Yeah. Good. Okay.
All right. So over to you, Paul.
That's relevant because. Let me find the right thing to share. One of the things that I was looking at for this time around is called Midjourney. And it's actually it's related to DALL-E, and it's also different in terms of it has a little bit more stability in terms of the things it generates. Like it doesn't have quite as much natural language horsepower to process the prompt you give it, if I understand correctly. But look at some of these pictures that it has done. Like these are, to my eyes, have even a little bit more high quality nature to them than some of the DALL-E pictures do, right? Like look at that. Like I would buy that art for my wall,
like real painting.
I mean, it's got a little bit more. So there's a particular technique. I don't know whether they've talked about it in here.
And everyone and their brother has a Discord services.
Yeah.
Did you notice?
Yep, I got on their Discord and I gave it some prompts. Yeah, and it gave me some interesting variations on what I had gotten through DALL-E. So this is another thing, and this is what's a lot of people on Twitter now. If you see, like, I follow a few artists on Twitter who are like digital artists, but they do art for like shows I've been in and stuff like that. And the artists out there are really taking notice of this now. They're really taking notice of this in terms of what does this mean for our future, both in terms of like sort of introspecting, like if a computer can make that, what am I providing? Yeah,
right. It's like developers and logo.
I know, like it's
places.
It's very related to it's related to in spirit. It's related to the low code discussion, and it's also related to that because we've talked about the code generator stuff, right? You give it a prompt and it just gives you a function that does what you ask it for. The AI, the GitHub Copilot does that. Like this is along those same lines in terms of if the machine can do this, what's my value again? And like for a lot of people, I still see tons of value in both artists and developers apart from what the AIs can do, right? Obviously those are still very in corners of the whole picture of what can be done in art and code. But I totally see what those people are saying, because it feels like every week that those little corners get just a little bit bigger,
Mm-hmm.
right, of the capabilities there. So again, I'm not worried about my job in 1 year,
Mm-hmm.
but I'm kind of worried about my job in 5 to 10 years.
Well,
You know?
I'm curious if it's maybe similar to like for the artists and developers, like developers low code and artists AI art. I mean, it's quality. It looks really cool, but at the same time, it's something you would find like a TJ Maxx. It's not like it's not next like Da Vinci or anything.
Yeah.
So I think that's where really and that might actually make sense because we need to free humans for higher order tasks versus doing TJ Maxx art that machine can do.
You're exactly right. Like I would rather not write like boilerplate UI code.
Yeah.
Ugh, right. I would rather like figure out something that's really specific, that's hard to do. And I just think that the boilerplate stuff and the relatively easy stuff, that's what the AIs I think are going to eat more and more of those pizzas, so to speak, and leave some of the harder stuff to humans. But like, if you look at the trajectory of what the AIs can do from like 2 years ago till now, you can't help but think, you know, that curve is like this. What's on the 5-year plan of that stuff, right? So I am not worried right now, but I am. I think you and our jobs are going to be wildly different in like 5 years. I think.
I
Well, we can take that. We can put that in one of those like we can put that in one of those long-term bet things,
might
right?
Be easy for me to talk since I'm only probably a decade or so from retirement, but I honestly I'm more like at least I want to be excited about it because it's really humans should be doing better stuff, more exciting stuff, great stuff, and I hope that what it allows. And if I may like. Again, for a second, deviate slightly for our conversation. Just yesterday, I caught one of those recommended random YouTube videos, and it was TED Talk about which place on Earth is easier to get rich at, and that's obviously that piqued my interest. Like, where is this magical place? And of course, everyone thinks that it's like America or like big countries like that because it's business, free market, and most rich people, but if you look at like billionaires per capita, it's actually Scandinavian countries like Sweden, Norway, which have better social protection. And one of the things that presenter mentioned, which I never really thought about it that way, but he compared like when he said, when I went to the United States, I went to like supermarket and there are like real like human cashiers doing like packing. Or there is a toll booth and there is a person sitting there taking money. I mean, that hasn't been the case like most recently. I think US finally caught up to that. But that talk was from several years ago. It was even before COVID started. So like universe ago. And he's exactly right. Because if person and it happened in, let's say, Norway or Sweden because people were too expensive. And we view it as a bad thing here, but it's actually a good thing because now person is too expensive to hire a cashier, but it's a work really. It's a mind-numbing, boring, terrible mechanic work that needs to be done by a machine. So to me, it's like very, very similar to that. So hopefully US is gonna catch up and we will have more billionaires per capita. Hopefully that will be one of them.
I know what we need. More billionaires. Right?
More billionaires.
But I see your point though, right? Like freeing up your time gives you the chance to sort of go after that wealth, right? Or whatever the case may be. So anyway, I like
deep
this
conversation.
I'm glad we're recording this for huge video value.
Yes, huge subscriber base. All of our 10 subscribers will be pleased.
All of our on my Star Wars podcast, I used to always say like all of our subscriber will be pleased, right? Just like not even plural, right? So I picked out 5, and again, just like usual, I probably pare down 2 of them before I get done.
All right.
So, but that's how I do. I saw this on the SAP blogs, and I caught my eye. The title of the post is "How a Futurist Works and Impacts the Future Direction of SAP." Because the reason is, and maybe I'm alone, I don't know. I never think of SAP and futurism as
in the same
as
sentence.
like, yeah, right. I mean, clearly SAP thinks about the future, but not in what I would call futuristic or futurism terms, right? And so I gonna dive deep on this and look at how this guy, he's an SAP futurist, and how he goes about saying and doing and influencing what he does with futurism at SAP. Because, like I said, I never think of those two as related things at all. So this one for sure will be in the issue, I think. This one. This is from one of my favorite sources, is this Acceleration Economy Network stuff. These guys make good content, I think. So shout out to Bob Evans and those guys here. Once again, thanks for all the listeners you can throw our way, Bob. I think I've talked about Industry Cloud a few times in the past, and this is another sort of examination of Industry Cloud as one of the sort of gates to the future of cloud stuff, right? In other words, right now, especially in the SAP space, a lot of companies are kind of focused on I'm going to drive a forklift to my data center and then like drive my servers over to the Azure data center and like push the forklift over, and now I did my cloud job, right? But that's like the bare bones beginning of what cloud is, right? And so solutions that run in the cloud for industry focused stuff, platform things that run in the cloud, I think all of those things are the real keys to value of cloud stuff, above and beyond just close the doors of your data center, right? And so that's where this is. That's in that same vein of like, if you're going to be in the cloud, look at it with futurist eyes. Maybe type them together. but it like
2 in 1.
Yeah, 2 in 1. But look at it above and beyond. Like, I put my server over there now, right? It's more than that. And so that's kind of a hobby horse that I what's the expression? I beat the hobby horse? That's not right. Anyway, I beat that dead horse over and over again. I want to, whatever the expression is for hobby horses, but like the industry cloud and using cloud for more than infra is a key part of my way I look at the cloud these days. This one, I don't know if this one really applies, or I don't know if this has enough, but it triggered my thoughts here, because what this does is, in that low code vein, creating a Power App, a Microsoft Power App based off of a REST API, and getting yourself like, just based on like the Swagger definition of your API, getting the full starting point of a Power App that's hooked up to your API is pretty powerful in terms of development stuff, right? Because that's sort of the system business flow of that kind of thing. And then you have the UI design flow of like what stuff goes on which screen and like that stuff. And that's important too. But the more that those things can be brought closer together, the more you accelerate how quickly you can get things done. And so this particular thing is something that pushes the back end toward the front end a little bit quicker. But there are other things out there that are also doing the other work, right? So there are things out there. Power Apps has this, a couple other things. I think Neptune just released this too. You can like draw a picture of a UI and take a picture of it with your camera, and then those tools will spit out a UI based on the picture you drew, right? So then based on that, and then based on this automatically doing stuff, you're like, things like that just keep like drawing those bridges closer together, or creating bridges between those two things that just like incrementally move you a little bit more quickly down the road. Because we all know, I mean, well, I'll say I know this, or I think this, and tell me if you disagree, is that the majority of apps out there are just like dumb crud.
Yeah.
Right? In terms of like, create, read, update, delete, like show me a screen, I'll type in some stuff, I'll click save, there I go. Not that you shouldn't design them well, but the key thing is, right, just give me some space to type nicely and I'm okay, right? Most apps for most business scenarios are kind of in that camp. There still are obviously the like high touch, high value apps that are like, oh my gosh, I need a minority, but that's like specialty, whatever. So things like this thing and those other tools take that giant pile of the low touch ones and continue to make them go like just 5%, 10% faster every time, right? And so I think that's really powerful, because I think that stuff is going to keep moving up and down the value chain of how software gets made, you know. So that's that.
And it's cool that you can take, you know, this RESTful API or service and use it for many things, because I have no clue how to create Power App, and with this probably I don't really need to know.
Yeah, and you would have, you'd have a usable thing, and you can instantly share that with whoever needs it. And then all of a sudden, your friends can like type in their favorite movies or whatever your API does, right? All your enterprise friends who love to use Power Apps to share their movies with each other.
Get stored in Z-Table, like our local corporate IMDb.
Awesome. Good, perfect use case for using that valuable HANA storage for employee stuff. And then finally, the last one, I've kind of kept this one in the bucket for a while. I still don't know whether I use it, but this one is I'm still scratching my head about Rise stuff. 10 questions you should ask SAP about Rise. I just think it's still fair territory to think about. I don't think I'm going to do it yet still. But it's like, I do want to keep, like, in some respect, keep kind of hammering these things, the Rise, the Breakthrough, the Infosys one, the whatever, all those things, because I mean, you and I both work at consultancies right now.
Yeah.
And like, we both kind of know that, like, let's be totally fair. Sometimes consultancies have, especially the big ones, have a lot of like BS surrounding what they do. And I want to cut through stuff and figure out what's really going on. So this is part of that whole process. But again, I probably won't do this one this time around. I'll probably do futurist, take a break, cloud, and AI, probably something like that. But yeah, we'll see. Anyway, that's my thoughts. That's my creative process that the world has now seen.
All right, so we'll find out which subject is going to make it into the next.
Find out next week.
Place your bets now. All right. So that's all, folks.
Well,
yeah, we are done with our planning. So look forward to reading the real stories next week. Talk to you next time.
Bye, guys.